If ever someone needed a clear depiction of just how different the paths that Prince Harry and Prince William have chosen to take, they wouldn't need to look any further than the events of this week. As always, let's take a look at all things royal related from the week. The week began with William and Kate releasing a new photo of Prince George to mark his 11th birthday. The Waleses release photos of their children throughout the year to mark different occasions, such as birthdays or holidays, and to satisfy the tabloid readers' appetite. In Endgame, Omid Scobie wrote that this tradition began after a photographer was found in the trunk of a car waiting for Prince George at a playground near their home. William and his then head of communications, Jason Knopf, sent letters and some legal threats to every editor in the country, and it was decided, in an effort to disincentivize paparazzi from taking photos of the children, that William and Kate would release their own photos. And while this method is somewhat safer, it is essentially William and Kate agreeing to play the game. Because despite the carefully posed and selected photos by William and Kate, or Kensington Palace's comms team, the press are still using these photos to make money off of the children and building their own harmful narratives about them at the same time. George, as the future heir, receives mostly positive press, but the language used to describe him also places him on a very high pedestal that could be quite damaging if he ever fell from it. In the tabloid articles that rolled out after the release of this photo, George, at 11 years old, was of course being compared to William, the late Queen Elizabeth, and even Taylor Swift. All comparisons made to project the idea of power onto him. But there were also a lot of descriptors used that seemed to forget he's still a child. The tabloid shared quote after quote from social media of royalists declaring how handsome George is, and one even saying that people should lock up their daughters. Again and again, royal reporters described him as grown up, ready to be the future king. That feels like a lot of pressure for a boy who's barely on the verge of adolescence. It seems they've learned nothing from the generation that came before him. But regardless of any negative effects these projected feelings might have on George, William and Kate continue to send the photos and keep their partners in the press satisfied. Another benefit of the Waleses offering up their children for display is that the British press are less likely to write negative stories about them. Negative stories like the royal family receiving a 53% raise in revenue in the upcoming years, which was revealed with the release of financial reports this week. Along with this raise, the royals reported other exorbitant costs like helicopter usage totaling £2 million, an increase from the £1.8 million the year prior, £1.1 million spent on chartering private planes, and £52,000 for a single trip on the royal train. All of this seemingly contradictory to Charles and William's insistence on protecting the environment, but you won't find that conversation in the British tabloids. But the most interesting piece of information to come out of the royals' financial reports may have been a lack of information, as William and Kate chose not to disclose how much they paid in taxes. Documents show that William and Kate received a surplus from the Duchy of Cornwall of £23.6 million. From those £23.6 million, they pay for their official, charitable, and private lives, and then are only required to pay taxes on what is left after those official costs have been deducted. Kensington Palace declined to say how much of the surplus was left for the Wales to pay taxes on, so the questions then have to be, why don't William and Kate want to reveal how much they paid in taxes? What might people discover if they did? But as ITV's Chris Shipp says, William won't say because he doesn't have to. And he doesn't have to because the media refuse to hold him accountable for any of his actions. Oh, but wait, here's a photo of a cute kid. So no need to question the minimal work these people do for the extravagant amount of money they receive. And the timing of the release of these financial reports, coupled with the lack of questioning from the British press, could not have been better, as they came just prior to Prince Harry's interview with Rebecca Barry for ITV's Tabloids on Trial documentary. Harry, of course, received the most attention for his part in the documentary, but it is not solely about him. The documentary showcases the stories of multiple victims of illegal information gathering, from celebrities and athletes to everyday people, and of course, a prince. In a week where William's invisible contract with the British press is on full display as he trades photos of George for their silence on his hidden finances, William's actions only highlight Harry's courage. As we know, Harry is not the only member of the royal family to have had information gathered on him illegally, and he tells Rebecca Barry that he wishes his family would have fought the tabloids with him. But he goes on to say that everything that has happened with his family has revealed the truth of the situation, and how correct he is. William settling with News Group in 2020 for a large sum of money, his labeling of Diana as paranoid on national television, his office's continued briefing of the press against Harry and Meghan, and his willingness to offer up his children for tabloid front pages all certainly reveal the truth of the situation. And the irony of William allowing the tabloids to make money off of his children may be his justification. According to Scobie, William is doing this to keep them safe, when in reality, he's handing them over to be scrutinized and dehumanized, and those children will only continue to receive praise if they play the role they've been cast into and never stray from it. And Harry knows that better than anyone. In one of the most poignant moments of the documentary, Harry explained the fear that he feels because of the tabloid attacks against him and Meghan, attacks that are encouraged by members of his family.
It's all dangerous, and all it takes is one lone actor, one person who reads this stuff to act on what they have read, and whether it's a knife or acid or whatever it is, and these are things that are a genuine concern for me. It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country.
Hearing Harry say that reminded me of the repeated message from Spare, where Harry assures Meghan that he will keep her safe. Years later, he's clearly keeping that promise. And as if on cue, the tabloids proved Harry right by publishing new paparazzi photos of Meghan out to lunch with Kimberly Williams Paisley in Montecito this week. Now, the argument will probably be made that the paparazzi were in America. Yet again and again, the first publication these photos show up in is the Daily Mail. That is not a coincidence. And with the photos comes the tabloid narrative. The tabloids have done this several times over the last few years. Whenever an event happens in the UK with that family, this time George's birthday, they print paparazzi photos of Meghan, some that they've held on to for weeks, in an effort to say that Meghan is trying to upstage the others. Although they know that Meghan had nothing to do with these photos and would never sell them to the same tabloid that she successfully sued for invasion of privacy. But this pattern allows the tabloids, or the palace, to paint Meghan as a manipulative woman, desperate for attention, and it riles up their base who believe it all and post their social media rants dripping with hate. Rinse and repeat over and over again, because as Harry says, all it takes is one lone actor, one person who reads this stuff to act on what they have read. It would be naive to think that that isn't part of the plan. As it continues to be proven, though, the noise around Meghan is just that, noise. This week, she was selected as a changemaker for International Black Heritage Month. In their description of her, they say she is a philanthropist and advocate for gender equality, women's empowerment, social justice, mental health, environmental conservation, and community relief programs. Her selection also acknowledged the Digital Civil Rights Award that she and Harry established through Archwell in partnership with the NAACP. But Meghan's philanthropic work was not the only thing she was noticed for this week. She also drew a lot of attention with her attendance at the G9 Ventures Summer Summit. G9 is a one-day business summit hosted by power broker Amy Griffin that brings together some of the most influential women in brands and business. Meghan looked perfectly dressed for summer in the Hamptons in an elevated take on a linen business suit, and as always, her friends were happy to post photos with her and sing her praises. It is so telling how everyone who knows Meghan personally has nothing but good things to say about her. And I know that many are thinking Meghan's attendance at this business summit is connected to the launch of American Riviera Orchard, and while I can't wait to see what Meghan is creating, it's always nice to just see her looking happy and thriving. It was also announced this week that the 2027 Invictus Games will be held in Birmingham, and after Harry's acknowledgement that he will not bring Meghan to the UK because she isn't safe there, a lot of people are thinking this means she won't be making an appearance at those games. I would say keep in mind that 2027 is 3 years away, and as we have seen, a lot can happen between now and then. So for now, if you can, continue to support Invictus and celebrate and uplift the service members whose lives are being changed through these games. And Harry will continue to do what is best for his family. In some aspects, he may have chosen the harder path, one lined with hateful headlines, but it is the path that keeps his wife and children physically safe, while the other path, the one that William chose, seems smoother with fewer roadblocks. But if you look closely enough, that path is lined with the faces of his children.